Winning Blueprint presents.
Welcome, you are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me here today on the program. A lot to get to. So many things have transpired over the weekend in the course of today's news. There's so many things that have happened, and this is exactly what we want. When we don't have the program on one day, we want it to accumulate. We want the news to accumulate so there's actually something to talk about. And so that's what's happened over the last 3 days or so. And now we have plenty to talk about today. This is going to be a jam-packed show, very fast-paced. So let's make haste. Let's get right to it. The big news of the day. Michael Vick, the carrot that was dangling in front of all of these teams looking for a quarterback in free agency. Everybody was chasing that carrot. That carrot has been moved off of the table. It's been eaten by the Philadelphia Eagles. They've decided that Michael Vick in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform means more to them than it does to any of those other teams. Chip Kelly and the Eagles brass decided that Michael Vick is a viable option in Philadelphia. And so they're going to give him a shot to be the starter in the 2012 season. But ATL is telling us otherwise. It's essentially a 1-year, $10 million prove-it deal. So the Eagles can back out of this deal after one season and part ways with Michael Vick. So if, in fact, Michael Vick has another one of these 2012 seasons where he can't stay healthy, where he's a turnover machine, they're going to part ways with Michael Vick. They're going to cut their losses and move on to Nicholas Foles. But if Michael Vick shows them a little bit of what they saw in 2010, a lot of what they saw in 2011, then the Eagles will probably ante up, extend that deal out, and allow it to run its course the full 3 seasons. So we'll see. This is essentially a prove-it deal for Michael Vick. This is an audition for Michael Vick to show if he can still get it done as a starting quarterback in the National Football League. And really, I don't know if I believe this or not because there's always a team that's desperate. But this might be it in terms of starting quarterback and making starting quarterback money for Michael Vick. This could be it. If he doesn't prove it this season, this may be it as far as Michael Vick earning double figures in salary for a season, earning the right to be a starting quarterback. This might be it. So we will see. Winners here are the Philadelphia Eagles because now they have 2 viable options at the quarterback position in Nicholas Foles and Michael Vick. You pick one of those and you move forward. It's probably going to be Vick. They didn't keep him around for him to just sit on the bench. And I don't think Michael Vick has any intentions of sitting on the bench. So expect him to be the starter. But they're the winners in all of this. The Philadelphia Eagles are the winners in all of this because now they have a quarterback in Michael Vick. They have another quarterback in Nicholas Foles. If one doesn't step up, they have another waiting in the wings. And so they give themselves multiple options. You have a new coach in Chip Kelly. He has a new system that he wants to implement. You want to know which quarterback fits that system, and so you give yourself options. That's what the Eagles have done here. The losers in all of this, all the other teams that were looking to acquire a quarterback in the offseason. The Buffalo Bills, the Arizona Cardinals, Kansas City Chiefs, all of these teams lose on this Monday as Michael Vick is no longer an option that you could explore. So that's the big news of the day. But there's plenty of news to get to, things that I want to gloss over on today's program. So let's continue on. Looking at the landscape of the National Football League, it's funny because just a few years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, the Patriots were looked at as the preeminent franchise in the National Football League. They could do no wrong. They were winners. They knew how to do it. The Patriot way was the way to go. If you couldn't seem to get a handle on your locker room, if guys were aging right in front of your eyes, you needed to do it like the Patriots. They never allowed guys to hang around past their prime. They never had problems in their locker room. And all of a sudden now, the karma starts to come back around to the Patriots. You could call them cheaters if you want. I'm not going to go down that route. But karma is a you-know-what, and it's starting to make its rounds back around, and the Patriots are in its crosshairs. All of a sudden now, the Patriots are the ones who need to keep things down in their locker room. Willie McGinest just recently came out and said, hey, look, Tom Brady needs to tap Gronk on the shoulder and have a talk with him. Are you kidding me? I don't care who you are. You're not going to calm Rob Gronkowski down. This is who he is. He's a fun-loving guy who likes to go out, party, take his shirt off, do a lot of dumb stuff, and have fun. He's a kid. And sometimes we lose sight of that when we look at these grown adults who are on the television, but yet they're 21, 22, 23 years old. They're still young men. And so there are a lot of mistakes to be made. Not everyone matures at the same age. I tell people that all the time. I have a buddy of mine that he's a genius, but he hasn't grown into that brain yet. And so he still hasn't realized that, hey, I'm a really smart guy that should be making six figures right now instead of being a bum on my couch. And so everyone doesn't grow at the same time. You got to realize Rob Gronkowski isn't at the level, maturity-wise, that a lot of the guys in the National Football League are. So, yeah, he wants to go out. He wants to have a good time. He wants to party. He doesn't care who sees him. He doesn't mind taking his shirt off. He's going to have fun. And there's nothing that Tom Brady, the Crafts, or anyone can say. Because the Patriots know they need Rob Gronkowski. And that's the thing. That's why you got to love this situation. They can't say anything. There's not a dang on thing the Patriots can do about Rob Gronkowski. Because he holds all the chips here. Because if the Patriots say, hey, we're not going to put up with your theatrics, ship out, guess what he'll say? Okay, fine, let me go. He'll have a deal in his hand in less than 5 minutes. He'll have 20 calls from his agent telling him that he's got offers from this team, and that team. So the Patriots are stuck between a rock and a hard place because it's not like he's going out and shooting people. He's not assaulting or raping someone. He's not drunk driving. He's just going out and having a good time and embarrassing the Patriots all the while doing so. And so that's a separate issue, though, from the Patriots just being frugal and cheap. And this is another instance of the Patriots getting a taste of their own medicine. Here they are trying to do it the Patriots way again. They don't want to pay Wes Welker. They might not want to pay Brandon Lloyd. You don't have enough talent if you're the New England Patriots to just let guys walk away. You need Wes Welker. A lot of people are saying, hey, will Wes Welker flourish in another system away from Tom Brady, away from the Patriots? He did it in Miami. Look, he wasn't this proficient and this good of a player in Miami, but you saw the talent. That's what the Patriots saw when they went out and acquired him when he became a free agent, because they saw what he could be. They played against him twice a year, and they knew this guy could be a problem. And the league sees it. He catches over 100 balls a season. He's a guy that, if you need to, in a pinch, can do some special teams for you, can return punts, can get back there and field some kickoffs. But you don't need to do that with him at this stage of his career. Find someone else to do that. This guy is a machine. And if put in the right system, sure, he can go somewhere else and catch 95 balls for 1,022 yards and 7 touchdowns. Because Wes Welker is dynamic. He's a jitterbug. He's a problem in the slot. And so the Patriots really need to stop being bullheaded here. Stop with the Patriot way and pay that man. Because if they don't, the Patriots want, this thing can turn back into the days when Brady was throwing the football to David Patton and Troy Brown 800 times and sprinkling in a little Kevin Falk on the side. They can turn it back into a team without a lot of options. If they want to do that, he'll be throwing the ball to Gronkowski a million times, Aaron Hernandez, and that's it. If you want this offense to be predicated off of throwing to the tight ends 10 trillion times and then having to find a receiver that can step up and help you, go right ahead. But you will regret it in the end. The Patriots need to do the right thing here and pay Wes Welker and stop being cheap. The man still has a lot of good quality football left in the tank. Pay the man. I told you last week when we were talking about the 49ers and the Super Bowl and Media Day, and we went off the mic and Randy Moss spoke, and I told you he doesn't say a lot, but when he speaks, it's very profound. He usually has something good and noteworthy to say, and Randy Moss spoke again today. And again, you may not like Randy Moss, the person, the football player, you have to respect him, but I tell you what, when he speaks, there's usually something that you can take and have discussion about. He said he was the best receiver. Not many believe that. In National Football League history? No, not many believe that. But it's a discussion. Yeah. He says that, hey, I think I could play 2 or 3 more years in the league. I could be a better receiver than I'm being showcased as right now. Is that true? We don't know. It's a discussion. And Randy Moss once again spoke over the weekend, and he said, if Kenny Britt can get his head on straight, he can be in the elite class of receivers right away. He's got that much talent. And for those of you who don't know or haven't seen or really don't care about Kenny Britt and the Tennessee Titans, that's a true statement. Kenny Britt is ultra talented. When you saw him coming out of college, out of Rutgers, it wasn't that much there. At least I thought that this is a very solid possession receiver, a guy that will go over the middle. If you fall asleep, he'll run by you, catch a few deep ones, but he's not going to electrify you. And then you put on the tape and you watch Kenny Britt, and you see some of the plays he makes, and you say, man, that takes special skill, special talent to be able to do what he just did. And he makes it look effortless. And you say, man, if he could do that consistently, man, this guy would be a beast. Kenny Britt's problem, however, is that A, he can't stay out of trouble. He's been either arrested or brought up on charges or in question with something going on at least 6, 7, maybe even 8 times since he's been in the league. 2, he can't stay healthy. And 3, he hasn't really had the quarterback that he needs to facilitate that offense and get him the football. If Kenny Britt can do what he needs to do and take care of what he needs to take care of on his end, we're talking about a guy that could be in the upper class, in the upper echelon in receivers in the National Football League. That talented of a receiver. And Randy Moss is right. And Randy is talking to him from experience. Randy Moss was never a model citizen in the National Football League. He wasn't a guy that got in trouble off the field a lot. He may have gotten into trouble once or twice, but he was never a problem off the field, really, was Randy Moss. He was just a guy that sometimes was a little bit off-putting in the locker room. It may have rubbed off on other players, or it may have rubbed other players the wrong way. But he's telling him from experience, look, man, if you get your act together, you have the talent to be a special player in this league. And he's right. And I've been saying it for a while now. Kenny Britt is better than a lot of people think. And if he could just stay healthy, if he could just stay out of trouble, he'll showcase what it is Randy Moss is talking about. Also, over the weekend, Rob Ryan, Mr. I'll be hired in 5 minutes, finally was employed over the weekend by the New Orleans Saints as their new defensive coordinator. Great. Perfect match. You take a defensive coordinator that doesn't mind giving up 28, 30 points per game and give him an offense that's going to score 34, 35 points a game. Perfect match. You have a unaggressive, very passive in nature coordinator with a very aggressive full throttle offense. Perfect. Now Rob Ryan can do exactly what he did in Dallas. Be mediocre. And the Saints will still win because that's what the Saints do. They put up with their mediocre defense and go out and score 38 points so that they can outscore the opponent and win. It didn't work in the 2012 season, but Sean Payton will be back in the fold in 2013. This team will get it rolling again on offense, and they'll do enough to win on the defensive side of the football. Rob Ryan, to me, is overrated as a defensive coordinator. That's just my personal opinion. He's very cocky and arrogant. He feels like he's better than what he is. What has Rob Ryan ever done in the National Football League to warrant him to think that he'll be hired in 5 minutes? It's comments like that that make me turn my eye to him and say, you know what? You're not as good as you think you are. See, your brother runs his mouth, and yeah, Rex runs his mouth maybe too much sometimes. But Rex has the stats. Rex has the postseason appearances. Rex has the postseason wins to back up his claims. You, my friend, however, don't. When have you ever played in the postseason? When have you ever coached a defense that played in the postseason? You never have. So until you are able to say that you have, until you're able to say that, yeah, my defense was part of the reason why we got to the postseason, keep it quiet. So you can tell that I'm not a huge fan of Rob Ryan. And so he has to show me. Now he's on a leash with me. Show me what you can do. Because you talk entirely too much. Too much talk, not enough action for me. Show me what you got. I'm waiting. Here's your chance. You're going to get 35, 36 points a game. Go and blow that. Because you're unaggressive, passive-aggressive, defensive coordinator. You don't get pressure on the quarterback. You don't force turnovers. You just look to play solid defense. And in the National Football League nowadays, if you don't have elite talent, just sitting back and playing solid defense isn't good enough. You got to apply pressure. You got to force turnovers. You got to squeeze pressure and produce diamonds. I don't know. We'll see what Rob Ryan is able to do in New Orleans. More funny news. Teams are interested in Joe Flacco. Really? Go figure. And no one was beating down Joe Flacco's door this time last season. Yet now everyone's interested in Joe Flacco. Well, guess what? Hands off. You can't touch him. He's not going anywhere. Do you really think the Baltimore Ravens are going to allow Joe Flacco to go anywhere? Let me answer that for you. No. Joe Flacco is not going anywhere. He will be signed to a long-term contract. And if they can't work it out, guess what the Ravens will do? Franchise tag him. They'll slap it on him so fast it'll make your head spin. So, for all you teams out there interested in Joe Flacco, you can back off. If that was plan A for you, which I doubt it was for anyone, but if it was, you need to go to plan B right now. Because you won't get your hands on Joe Flacco. Not now, not next year, not anytime in the near future. Just forget about it. Just forget about it. Also, the Vikings are talking about possibly shopping Percy Harvin, which lets me know that that bridge is burned and beyond repair. Because if you're the Vikings, you don't have enough talent to trade Percy Harvin. If you're the Vikings, you need Percy Harvin on your roster. Adrian Peterson already came out and said, hey, we're like Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. I don't know which one is which, but we're like two Jordans on this team. He was right. Without Percy Harvin, this is an average team. Without Adrian Peterson, this is an average team. Adrian Peterson was able to put this team on his back, take them to the postseason. But without Percy Harvin giving you a chance out wide, hard for you to get any further than the Vikings got this season. Because guess what? When you get in the postseason and teams know you're going to run the football, guess what? You can get by the Detroit Lions running Adrian Peterson 27 times for 274 yards. You can get by the St. Louis Rams running Adrian Peterson 23 times for 174 yards and 2 or 3 touchdowns. You can get by the Jacksonville Jaguars running Adrian Peterson 24 times for 197 yards and 2 scores. What happens in the postseason, however, is that you start playing teams that are really good. There are no Jacksonville Jaguars. There are no Detroit Lions. There are no Kansas City Chiefs. There are no Oakland Raiders. Everyone's good now. All there is in the playoffs, if you're the Minnesota Vikings, are Green Bay Packers, San Francisco 49ers, New York Giants, Washington Redskins. Teams that can bottle you up defensively. There are no teams that you can just run roughshod over. There are no Arizona Cardinals. There are no teams that are going to lay down and allow you to be one-dimensional and get away with it. And so without Percy Harvin, there is no other dimension. There is no other element. There is no other threat on this football team. But if he doesn't want to be there, I'm a big proponent for getting something for Percy Harvin. No need to keep a malcontent in your locker room. If he doesn't want to be there and you can't get him to understand that this is where he needs to be, then you got to do what you got to do. So the Vikings are, and this is ATL, shopping Percy Harvin. That's what is being reported around the league. That Percy Harvin is on the block, and if you come with a good enough deal where the Vikings feel like they're getting enough value back, you can have Percy Harvin on your roster. That is a very huge and very dicey and very risky move by the Minnesota Vikings, but they may be backed into a corner here. He didn't want to be there when the season started last year. He gets injured. It's a mysterious IR trip for Percy Harvin to end his season. I think that might have done it. That might have been the final straw that broke the camel's back. That might have been the final nail in the coffin. He probably no longer wants to be a Minnesota Viking. And so maybe they have to do what they have to do at this point and get rid of Percy Harvin by trading him. And so I don't know how you get equal value here, but if you're the Vikings, you got to do something, I guess. And it's going to be tough because you don't have a lot of talent right now. You're going to have to continue to try to work to acquire that. And Percy Harvin was one of those guys that you could build around and really take him as a brick, as a solid piece of a foundation that you could build around. And now he might be looking to get out of Minnesota, and you might have to oblige. So we'll see. But that's a touchdown. Go ahead and throw it up. I'm going to tackle this quick extra point. Now, this week is going to be quick. It's going to be a whirlwind. We're going to get through the rest of these lab follow-ups. So I need you to stay tuned. I need you to be very attentive, as today we'll be doing the Green Bay Packers. Tomorrow, it'll be one more day of just one football team, and then we'll have to rev it up and do some doubleheaders before winding it down and getting to our last team. So, of course, the last team will be the Baltimore Ravens. Today will be the Green Bay Packers. After the Packers, it will be the Houston Texans. And then we'll be really revving it up, trying to get through these lab follow-ups for every single team in the National Football League. So I thank you for joining me here on the program today on Monday. There was a lot to get to. We got through it. It was fun. You know all the ways to contact the show. There's Facebook. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. There's YouTube. Louis T is the page. Subscribe. There's Twitter. In the Lab Room is the Twitter handle. And, of course, there's the inbox. In the Lab Room at gmail.com is where you can find me directly in the inbox. If you access any of those social media websites, whatever you post will come directly to the inbox. So there you have it. I thank you for joining me here in the Lab Room. Stay tuned for the Green Bay Packers later on today, as we'll be going over the 2012 season for the Green Bay Packers, talking about what led to their demise in the postseason and what they need to do moving forward to help them take that next step to getting back to being a Super Bowl contending team. So I'll see you a little bit later on the lab follow-up of the Green Bay Packers. I thank you for joining me here in the Lab Room. As always, I want to see you back here same time, same place. And as always, have a good one. Take care.